lesson 18, we come to a conclusion with the Kriya exercises. And in fact, we have two with which we conclude. There's a very strange twist taking place. Thirty-fifth Sutra, Chapter 2. Then Kapalabhati is described. Perform Rechaka and Puraka rapidly, like the bellows of a blacksmith. This is called Kapalabhati, and it destroys phlegmatic diseases. Now, Kapalabhati is often done as a breathing exercise. And people sit like this, and then... So, breathing exercises are good. It's good for the lungs, it's good for the airways, it increases oxygen in the blood, oxygenates the blood. So, nothing wrong with that. But we have the same story here. There is no coherence if you put it in the light of the other Kriya exercises. But if you continue the approach that we had from the beginning, seeing it as a subtle energy exercise that is described in a symbolical way, it starts making perfect sense, especially because it is one of the last exercises. If you have the Hatha Yoga Pradipika with you, you must make a correction in the description that Ajita wrote after the sutra, because it writes, by repeatedly letting Shiva out via Chandra Bindu. Chandra Bindu should be Surya Bindu. Shiva goes out through Surya Bindu. Shiva in, Chandra Bindu, out, Surya Bindu. So they flipped it. And in the same, it should go in through Surya Bindu, it should be Chandra Bindu. So flip Surya Bindu and Chandra Bindu. What you are doing here is the start of pranayama. You let Shiva out, which is like the second step of Vashti. Remember Vashti? The first step is you suck up water. The second step is you expel the water. Shiva out. So you start with an outflow, and then Shiva in. Then according to the text, you do this repeatedly. What you are doing is, based on what you have learned so far with the previous Kriyas, you now actually start with the in and outflow of Shiva energy. There is no counting yet, which we have in pranayama, and we have no retention yet. So it doesn't have a structure yet. This is just finger practice. You have become familiar with energy, the concept of energy, maybe even felt on a subtle level. You understand the flow of energy. So now we're actually going to start practicing with that. It doesn't stop here. Sutra 36, freed from corpulence, phlegmatic disorders, impurity, etc. by the 6 acts, the 6 Kriya exercises you learned so far, one should practice pranayama. You're ready now for pranayama. Then success in yoga is achieved without strain. Sutra 37, some teachers say that all impurities of the nadis are removed by pranayama alone. And other acts, the above mentioned 6, are not accepted by them. There is a conflict in yoga land. There are teachers who reject the Kriya exercises. You know why? Because they don't understand the symbolism, take it literal, and come to the conclusion, the sensible conclusion, this is damaging. And things that are damaging in yoga, logically, commonsensically, doesn't make sense. So there are people who reject the Kriyas. There are also teachers who teach the Kriyas literally as they are described, and when questioned by the students, like, why don't you do this? Then the teacher will say, well, you are a beginner, you must do this to purify, but I'm a master, I don't have to do this anymore, I'm pure enough. So this is disingenuous. But when you understand how this works, you see the beauty of it and the importance as a preparation for the beginner to understand how to work with subtle energies, something that is already difficult enough because it's so vague in a way, so difficult to grasp in a way. And the Kriya exercise is a very practical way to become familiar with how it works. And the moment you start with your first pranayama, there's no doubt anymore, there's no question anymore. It's very simple and rather easy to do. But then some very strange twist occurs. Sutra 38. Then Gajakarani is described. Draw up the apana prana to the throat and vomit the substances that are in the stomach. Ignore what is written between square brackets. That is written later, added to the text later, by people who approached it literally. This act, the gradual practice of which brings all the nadis under control, is called Gajakarani by those who know Hatha Yoga. There are people who do this literally. They keep focusing on their stomach until they get sick and actually really vomit, and they think, wow, I succeeded in this marvelous exercise. If you look at Kapalabhati, it only makes sense that they added Gajakarani as the seventh Kriya. Because what you are doing now is a Kundalini exercise. Shakti in, and not only that, you pull it up. You're not physically vomiting, but the contents of the stomach, that is those three chakras that form one ball of vital energy. We discussed last week the concept of danjan. Those three chakras that when our energy levels increase, vital energy levels increase, they kind of merge. They call it digestive fire. Or in Indian language, or in Sanskrit, it's called Agni. Agni is fire, not limited to the digestion, but vital energy. The picture is complete now. Shiva in, Shiva out. Shakti in, and you pull it up. It is the Shakti, the Kundalini effect, that is responsible for the awakening of the higher chakras, for the breach of the glass ceiling that is the diaphragm, below which most people are relatively stuck in terms of their consciousness. So this is what we do. Forget about the 5 Kriya exercises that we did. The 6th and the 7th Kriya are in fact the start of pranayama, but still without the counting and the retention. That will be introduced next week. So, if you need to, you can indeed start with Dauti, Vashti, Neti, Trataka, and Nauli. But in fact, we have done this for the past couple of weeks. The concept is familiar, so you can skip that and just focus on these two, Kapalabhati and Gajakarani. Because this is where the previous 5 have led us. Okay? So we have Kapalabhati, Gajakarani, and the rest of the time we have left, we focus on Nada. Do you see the logic in this approach? Do you see the logic in this build-up, this systematic build-up? And on the opposite side, do you see the lack of coherence if you would practice these kriyas literally following the text without acknowledging that it is symbolical description? And also the bridge that the kriya exercises form between the physical part, asana, and the mental part, which is subtle, energy control. If that step appears too big to make from gross to subtle, physical exercises everybody can understand. But the concept of controlling energy, that can be difficult to grasp. The Kriya exercises form the bridge between asana and pranayama. For those people who find it difficult to grasp that actually controlling, manipulating energy is possible. And in this way, it all makes sense and it connects. Taking it all literally, there's no coherence, there's no logic, there's no common sense. Okay, let's just give it a try. Gajakarani?
Yeah.
When you are done with the first step, Kapalabhati, focus on the belly. And then imagine from the belly a large amount of energy rising up. You have to visualize this. Good question. I think I was fake about explaining how it works.
I think you explained there, but the process you explained there.
Yeah.
That process.
Yeah. I'm often lacking in practicality.
Okay. Thomas was saying something.
Oh yeah, does this stage involve it like coming in through Chandra Bindu and out through Surya Bindu? Are we doing that? Is that part of it, or is it just inside the body?
Oh, Kapalabhati out.
No. Good question also. Here you do not focus on what happens inside the body with the piece of cloth going down. Here you focus on inflow. And you do not concern yourself with where that energy is going. Because now it becomes a distraction. We used the visualization before because it's powerful, helping us to touch energy. But now we go towards pranayama, and in pranayama, you do not concern yourself with what happens inside. You focus on Surya Bindu at the bottom and Chandra Bindu at the top. So you focus on the inflow, the outflow, or from the bottom inflow and outflow, but not anymore what happens in between, because energy finds its way naturally. And being concerned with where it goes, how it spreads, or what it affects, becomes a distraction effect. Yeah. Okay?